Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Council and Committee of the Town of Petawawa to order for July 15th, 2024. Welcome to members of council, staff, and our special guests in the back there this evening. We'll start this meeting off by having the land acknowledgement read, and tonight the honor goes to Deputy Mayor Sapper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Petawawa Town Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, and we wish to acknowledge our shared responsibilities in responding to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94 calls to action. Call to action number 18. We call upon the federal, provincial, territorial, and Aboriginal governments to acknowledge that the current state of Aboriginal health in Canada is a direct result of previous Canadian government policies, including residential schools, and to recognize and implement the health care rights of Aboriginal people as identified in international law, constitutional law, and under the treaties. Recent progress. The budget of 2022 provided $4 billion over 6 years, which commenced in 2021 to ensure First Nations children continue to receive the support they need through Jordan's Principle. The budget of 2023 also reaffirmed the Government of Canada's commitment to invest $2 billion over 10 years through a new Indigenous Health Equity Fund to address unique challenges Indigenous people face when it comes to fair and equitable access to quality and culturally safe health care services.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Sapper. I'll ask now if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest on any of this evening's matters.
Yeah, I would like to disclose pecuniary interest for the closed session for this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Driscoll. So when this council goes into closed session this evening, we'll just ask that Councillor Driscoll excuse himself from those proceedings. Okay, no presentation, so we'll get right to it. We have a busy agenda this evening. Super committee, we call it. Everybody is here to give their monthly report, and we'll begin with planning and development. So we'll invite Melanie to the podium, and also our two very special, eagerly awaited guests.
Good evening. So before I get into my monthly report, I just want to introduce our two new senior planners. Noah Boys on my right started last Monday. So welcome to you, Noah. And Jeff Bott on my left started today, day one. So welcome to Jeff, and happy to have them both. And you know, we'll be bringing lots of reports and exciting things to council in the months to come.
Well, thank you, Melanie, for introducing the two gentlemen, Noah and Jeff. It's great to have you aboard. I understand that Melanie threw you into the deep end right away and dumped quite a few files in your direction. But it's great to have two new planners here in the town of Petawawa. We have a very busy community with a lot of growth and a lot of files and a lot of things going on. So this is part of our capacity building, and we're looking forward to all three of you now helping us move that growth along at a fast pace. So welcome to the town of Petawawa, and it's great to have you. And I understand the two of you will be giving the August report. Melanie's on holiday. You better take notes this evening. Okay, Melanie, let us have it.
All right, I'll just highlight a few things in the report. So item 1.5.1, the Petawawa Animal Hospital. I just wanted to let you know that the sale was finalized last week. So all of that, the site plan, the development agreement, the sale, it's all final, and it's now up to Dr. Scantlin to apply for a building permit, which is very exciting, good news for the town. In pre-consultation, subsection 1.8.2, in the past, I think council was aware that we had a developer talking about a purpose-built rental housing development on Winston Avenue. and just advising that those talks have resumed. And we just circulated last week some comments from all the town departments about the latest developments. So hopefully more to come on that soon. And a heads up, item 1.8.3, the pre-consultation bylaw that was passed in 2022 requiring pre-consultation needs to be updated as under Bill 185 is no longer required pre-consultation. We can encourage it and really advise people that it's a good thing to do, but we can't require it. So I'll be working with Colin on either repealing it or bringing it forward with different language in the future. Under subdivisions, item 2.1, the Hoffman Phase 4 extension of Wilson Avenue. The paperwork is with the town solicitor to register. They're registering it this week. The part law control bylaw is on the agenda for next Monday's council meeting to pass. And then once council passes that bylaw, it goes to the county for approval, and then the lots can be sold. So just advising you that bylaw is coming before you next week. With the Radke Estate Phase 2, we're working with the developer on the subdivision agreement. Just a little bit of back and forth on the different clauses in that agreement, but it's getting closer. And the Black Bay Road subdivision proposal, there's a planning report coming up about that after our monthly report. The official plan update, section 5. The county is going to get back to us with their modifications, approval with modifications by the end of July, I was advised today. So it's getting very close as well. And the only other thing I'll highlight in the monthly report is the Housing Accelerator Fund Round 2 announcement came out last week. There's a webinar next week to go through what the program requirements are, what the government's looking for in terms of applications, but we'll be working hard getting something put together. I know that the proposals are due September 19th, so relatively quick turnaround. And happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for Melanie on the monthly report. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Melanie. A question about the development in behind the Boston Pizza there, the Lantern Developments was they were going to construct a couple of apartment buildings. So I was just wondering if there's any movement on that file.
We met with the owner of that property a few weeks ago, and the one that's partially started, he plans to be resuming that anytime now. And the building permit has been taken out for the second building planned there as well.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Further questions on the report? Just a quick comment on the Housing Accelerator Fund Round 2. I know that everybody's aware that a lot of smaller municipalities were not successful in the first round of funding. So it's nice to see that they're coming out with a second round, although it is only 400 million compared to the over 2 billion that went out the first time. I guess my question is, I know that we submitted an application. What have they said about this second round? Do we have to redo the entire application? What are the parameters this time around?
There hasn't been too much like that is the subject of the webinar next week, but there are a few key things. You had to have submitted to the first round to be able to be eligible to submit to the second round. We are in the over 10,000 population, so we will be competing for funds with big municipalities. There are some housing targets that the municipality have to be open to be eligible as well around servicing. And that's one point that I need more clarity on. Next week, when we're a municipality with full, partial, and no services, what does that mean? There's been a few basic eligibility criteria, but again, not the chance to ask for like.
Okay, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first round of funding, only one municipality under 10,000 was awarded any funding at all.
One in Eastern Ontario.
Okay, but there is a chance. So we have to submit, and once we find out the parameters, we'll put together some good projects. Now that we have a team of 3, you won't be under such a time crunch being one person having to do this within a month. So looking forward to hearing what it's all about and getting out a good application. Okay, any further questions? Okay, I need a motion then. Moved by Councillor Roots, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the Planning and Development Monthly Report for July be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, next we'll go to the Building Activity Monthly Report for June 2024. Melanie.
The report it was in your package, not much to highlight. We're still trending slightly over last year at this point in time in terms of building permit values. In June, a lot of the permits were for accessory structures. That's why you see a bit of a drop in the permit value compared to the month before.
Questions on the building report? We still got some big ones that should come through soon, the Whitewater and the apartment you were speaking of. So some big developments that could add significantly to our report there. No questions? I need a motion then to accept. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the building activity report for June be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have PL-20-2024, proposed plan of subdivision, part of lot 11, range C, 16 Black Bay Road, Black Bay subdivision, James W. Lapointe Motor Holdings Incorporated. Ellen.
All right, so this report is just seeking council's support on reducing the lot frontage requirements for these lots. This property fronts on Black Bay Road. It's about 41 acres in area, and the proposal is partial servicing for the subdivision, municipal water with private septic. When the application was originally submitted to the county, it consisted of 56 single detached lots and some parkland. We then met with county staff, with the JP2G representing the owner. There was some discussions about using the parkland dedication to create a new trailhead for Algonquin Trail. Also addressing fire department concerns about having a second way into the subdivision if there was some issue at the proposed single entrance to the subdivision. And as a result of these discussions, the applicant has revised the subdivision and come with a different layout, which addresses some of the trailhead issues, the second access, but it also proposes to reduce the lot frontages to actually increase the number of lots in the subdivision. The proposal is consistent with the PPS. It conforms to the official plan, so there's no issues that way. Just from a zoning perspective, the zoning amendment to rezone the lands from rural to residential would have to recognize these smaller lot frontages. So on partial services, it's supposed to be 30 meters, and most of the subdivision is coming in at 24 to 25 meters lot frontage instead. There was a nitrate impact assessment done for the property that showed that it could handle between 50 and 100 lots, so the proposal is still within those parameters. There's other details that you'll see in later reports when I'm coming to you for full subdivision approval. There's naturalization in terms of establishing a deep rear yard setback. There's some noise issues. Those will all come as we progress through the subdivision process. But basically tonight, I am just looking for your support in principle of reducing the lot frontages before the developer goes back, gets all the plans redrawn, gets the studies updated and revised. So I mentioned before, the nitrate impact assessment supports the number of lots, even the increased number. Town Public Works has advised there's capacity in the water system and the increased number of lots. And it basically provides more lots for housing, which we know we need in the town. So again, tonight, not looking for approval of the subdivision, just looking for support in reducing the lot frontages for the lots. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions on the report? Councillor Carmody, then Deputy Mayor Cyber.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Melanie. Just a question. I just want to understand this a little more clearly as to why they wouldn't have come up with the 69 lot configuration to begin with. Like, what changed that suddenly? Because presumably, the more lots you have, the more profitable it's going to be for a developer. The more people you can have working, the more houses you're building, and better for the economy in general, better for our housing supply numbers, etc. So everything seems to point to 69 would have been a good starting spot. Why 56? But these guys have been up this game a long time. They wouldn't have just suddenly went, oh, hey, we just noticed something that we missed, or we can tack on an extra 13 lots. So I just want to know what caused this.
My understanding is that the first proposal fully conformed to the zoning bylaw. The lots met the minimum lot area and met the lot frontage. And it was only when we were in the discussions with the developer and the other town staff that they kind of floated this idea was, would the town be supportive of reduced frontage? And when the previous director and I were in that meeting saying, if you can provide justification, the reports, the nitrate impact assessment, all that supported, we'd be willing to come to council and see if we could support it. So I think initially it was just trying to comply. And then through talks, they realized that maybe the town would be supportive.
And I don't really have too much of a problem with that, but does that point the finger at something if originally it was in compliance and now we're asking to be somewhat out of compliance? Should we go back and change our original documentation so that people would be in compliance right off the bat? Or
we will be looking at all our lot provisions when we do the zoning bylaw update to see if they still make sense. So for example, lot frontage for an unserviced lot is 30 meters. And it's also 30 meters for a partially serviced lot. So that's the kind of thing when we do a zoning bylaw update, we'll be looking at to see if that 30 meters for partial still makes sense. Because in this case, the areas meet the zoning, it's just the frontage that doesn't. So in the layout that I included in the package, we asked them to show a representative building envelope, septic system footprint, as well as the, increased setback in the back for the naturalization, just to show that it works. So yeah, a good point, James. It is something we'll be looking at in the future.
okay, and presumably there would be an impact on the aesthetics of the subdivision too, having smaller lots, more homes packed into a smaller area, more vehicles parked on the road. We've seen a lot of that in our town to date. It's not as bad now as it used to be, but it certainly is a consideration. Thanks for the explanation. I just wanted to understand what was involved in this.
Deputy Mayor Cyber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Melanie. Melanie, my question was in regards to septic systems. I remember living off of Laurentian where we had septic systems in very large lots. I'm making some assumptions that technology has allowed us to reduce footprint and things like that. So I guess my question is, when we reduce, and for my clarity, when we reduce the frontage, and then you mentioned something about the rear yard depth would be longer, so we can accommodate septic systems, no problem with the within the rear lots, I guess they would be, and allow still for the other, functionality of the property. That's not going to be like that. Definitely isn't a problem.
That's correct. It's tertiary septic systems, and I'm not an expert on septic systems either, but it is newer technology that requires a smaller footprint. But we did ask JP2G in the layout in the package to show that there is enough.
And that's sort of what I thought you would say because of the technology. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councillor Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Melanie, if you're looking for support for direction, I would definitely support that. We support that. Thank you.
Councillor Driscoll?
Yes, Mayor. Yeah, I'm in support. I mean, if we want to have more homes in the municipality, at some point, we're gonna have to change some of our, wording. The question I have is on the 20-meter buffer in the back of the property. I don't remember the full subdivision design, but will people be able to cut that down afterwards, or like is the developer leaving it and then once someone takes ownership, are we gonna put a restriction on if they can't cut vegetation off their own property?
That is one of the details that has to be worked through as we move through the process. So part of the environmental impact study identified that there's some species of special concern on this property and next to it. So one of the recommendations of the EIS was to leave as much of the lot as possible in the natural state. And this is one of the discussions we have. We can include it in the subdivision agreement, but as lots get sold and homes get sold, how do we enforce no tree cutting in this rear yard setback? So it's an ongoing discussion.
Okay. Yeah.
Further questions or something? Just have a couple of quick questions. And it's good that we have acting chief Prue here. So part of this, and I know I'm not talking about lot frontage. Part of this is that we needed a secondary emergency vehicle access. So on this plan, you see an emergency access road going through the parkland, and it's not as wide a road as the official entrance. So as an emergency service, our department, is this sufficient in terms of getting our emergency vehicles in there? And if it's not an actual road, how is it blocked off to prevent regular traffic from going in there?
So we went through this with acting chief Prue to make sure that this would work for the fire department. And what we would do is similar to what was done for Valor School, is have some kind of rolling system or something for the portion of the walkway that goes in between residential lots. So people could, from the subdivision, could walk on it, they could take their ATV on it, but people wouldn't be able to drive their cars on it until our fire department could drive on it when they opened the gates or activated the bollards or whatever.
Okay, thanks for that. And where is the water service line going to come from? Is it coming down Black Bay Road, or is it going to be hooked up from the boulevard?
So that is something that we talked about as well. The reports talk about it coming from Industrial Avenue. You know, in talks with Public Works, there's some discussions for bringing up the Petawawa Boulevard as well. With another of the details we'll work out as we go through.
So if it comes from industrial, would it come up and come down Black Bay Road? And what is there, like 10 houses there that do not have water? Would they be eligible to be hooked up?
So right now, their proposal on the layout, the portion that has the number 70 on it on the layout is where they plan to bring water to the subdivision.
Okay, thanks for that. And I just have one final question. In the original proposal for the subdivision, it had 56 lots. If you look on the schematic map there, lot number 60 was originally given to us as part of the Block 1 parkland. And I know we've had discussions about us putting a parking lot there as a, I don't know, a setting off point for snowmobiles, ATVs, or that sort of thing. Yeah, and also the other part of that discussion was this being a big enough subdivision with potentially almost 70 homes to warrant having a playground. So originally we had been given that lot 60, and in discussions that we had, that was where we thought a playground would go in conjunction with the parking lot. But now in this second proposal, it's showing that there is now a house on lot 60, and that our little piece of parkland has shrunk somewhat, although it's still 5%, which is in the allowable range. Is there any thought to discussing with the developer that, and I'll preface it by saying I am in favor of the reduced lot frontage sizes, but is there any thought of approaching the developer and saying, sort of a give and take situation, we've allowed you for 13 more lots with reduced frontage. But we would like to retain that lot 60 for parkland.
Definitely go back to the applicant and talk about that with them. We did talk about that initially and kind of advised that maybe we didn't need another neighborhood park, but it's definitely something I'll be back.
I know in the original discussions, we talked about not wanting to have a playground close to where there was ATVs, snowmobiles, and a lot of cars and trailers unloading. And if we retain that lot 60, we could move the playground away from the park, closer to the residential street, and in a more safer area, let's say. But yeah, if there was some way we could approach the developer and ask if that was a function.
Will do.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, then if you're comfortable, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. The council supports the reduced lot frontages proposed for Black Bay subdivision to increase the proposed number of lots from 56 to 69 lots. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Melanie, Jeff, Noah. Are you ready for next month?
Got it.
Okay, next we have the community services report for June 2024, and Colin is going to present in place of Merrick.
Good evening, everyone. So I'll quickly go through the monthly report. We had a busy month as per usual over at Community Services. So I'll just highlight a few of the bigger tickets that we had there. On June 14th, there was a meeting with the Seniors Active Living Center transfer meeting that Mary attended. We've made a step forward in the process for the Marion Brick planning. We've been in contact with Decralite. We purchased our lights from last year to further expand the trail. So we've downsized the original quote to stay in budget. So we're in the next process of hearing back from them so we can make this trail even longer than it was last year. Thank you to council for moving forward with some of the things we were able to do staffing wise. This year we brought in Ellie Dumichel for our tourism coordinator, as well as Joanne Shimmons, who is now the seniors programmer at the senior center. So this has been a big step forward to sort of alleviate and open up possibility for programming here in the town. The town was successful and awarded the seniors community grant funding. So Shallon is in the midst of purchasing, developing programs that will not only benefit our senior center, but also active seniors in and around in our outdoor program. So it's going to be a big step forward, and that'll be launching shortly. Due to the late release of the grant, we've had to shift the grant to start a little later, and it will be moving over to September. So it's just a shift after realizing that the grant wasn't going to be on time. But everything is still moving forward as planned with the grants set forward. Continuing on to programs and events, Civic Center Days, which I know many faces I saw here were there. Probably one of our most successful Civic Center Days in a long time. The Midway generated more revenue than I have seen probably in the last 10 years. It was packed the hills. Events like the music and the craft beer event were numbers that were well over what we've seen in a long time. So that event continues to grow, and we'll keep on investing in that event this coming year. So there's already plans started to see new events and new programs built with that event. It's going so well. And then we'll carry on to the parks and facility services. So the soccer won the lights. So all the new installations for all those new lights have been put into place. And our minor soccer club is very happy with the turnout. So we're well ahead of where we need to be with that field. If you have any questions about this monthly report, I'll be happy to answer what I can.
Questions on the monthly report? Okay. Councillor Driscoll.
Just a comment, because Mary's always the one who gets to hear it. But good job, really great job at Community Services. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? It's nice to hear you say that the new hires are helping out. It's always been our plan to increase capacity to allow employees to breathe and to innovate rather than just treading water. It's good to have help there so that everybody can produce some good ideas and actually act upon them. And I'll echo Councillor Coutue's sentiments there. Civic Center Days was great. Canada Day, fantastic. You, Mary, and all of the staff there, community service, did a wonderful job. And not only good feedback from our residents, but residents from nearby municipalities who come all the way to Petawawa to experience what we have here. So keep up the good work. Okay, if there are no questions, then I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the Community Services Monthly Report for June be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have CS-05-2024 Petawawa Seniors Advisory Committee.
So with moving forward for the senior center, we're looking to council to approve the implementation of the Petawawa Seniors Advisory Committee and the attached draft and reference of application as part of the transfer of the Seniors Activity Learning Center known as Silver Threads to the town. If you look at the attached documents, it includes the terms of reference as well as the application process.
Any questions on the report? Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a really good step forward and definitely one of the commitments that were made to the seniors over at Silver Threads to ensure that there would be continued dialogue and input. So thank you very much for moving forward with this. And
Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mayor Service. And I just noticed in the terms of reference under the advisory committee composition membership, the first bullet states that there'll be 5 public members and 2 members of council, and then the third bullet says the member of council appointed to the committee shall act as the chair. So is it 1 person from council or 2?
I just think following up with that, we will be just looking at probably the 1 member of council. So I will ask upon Mary's return that we just get that rectified.
Further questions or comments on the report? Everybody's happy with the terms of reference, the application process and all of that?
Very good.
So just on your point about the 2 and the 1. So right now it says 2 members of council, but then after that it says the 1 member of council. Perhaps, and I'm just throwing this out there, could we put up to 2 members of council just in case in some future time, or even now, if 2 members of council are adamant that they'd like to join, then we have the language in there that accommodates that 1 or 2.
Yeah, so we can wordsmith that to fit that up to 2 members can be.
Okay, and that 1 of those 2 members would be the chair of the collective. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions or comments on that? And how's it been going so far? We took over on July 8th, so we've been in control for a week now, I guess.
It's been going exceptionally well. Much better than I ever anticipated. Our new hire, Joanne, is being well received. Plants have been dropped off. Cookies have been dropped off. So she's being very welcomed with open arms into the senior center. We were already seeing positive outcome and receiving positive feedback. So I think this moving forward has been a complete success. And I only anticipate growth from here. And we're already with putting this forward. I think not only will this benefit the center, I think it'll benefit the seniors population, the community across the entire community and not just the center as well. So everything's going very well.
So she's getting cookies and plants and all kinds of other things. Can we perhaps look at lowering her pay?
No. I think Gary, as someone in the 50+ category, you're welcome to join the programs over there and benefit from those plans.
That sounded like a shot.
Just an invitation.
It's good to hear that things are going well though. I know there was some consternation and changes, not always easy. So it's good to hear that even in the first 10 days or so that the reports are good. And it's great that we have a staff member on the ground at the center, not only providing programming, but whatever other supports that person can provide to the senior center. Yeah, so all I can say is I'm looking forward to not just servicing the members that were always there, but opening up to the broader community. I know we're a young town, but our seniors population is growing here in Petawawa. So I think it's important that we open it up and advertise for everybody. And as you said as well, because of that grant, we're going to have other seniors programs as well running out of the Civic Center and our outdoor areas. So, and as Deputy Mayor Sabern said, it was part of our mandate to make sure that we're providing everything our seniors need here in town. So it's all good news. And I think I talked to you earlier, our first Tuesday bingo is going to happen next week.
Yeah, some of the programming that's coming out, that the partnerships between Civitan to be able to put that forward, the community is coming forward. So we're seeing growth already. And additionally, we have our first outdoor seniors 50+ paddle. It's sold out very quickly, and we're already looking at doubling that up a week. So the word is out there, so to speak.
That's great. And I forgot to ask during the report, I know that we purchased a new end-up paddle water polo set. Has it been getting rented, and any feedback?
I have had questions about starting a water polo course without the paddle boards. The rentals are going well. We're building up a event around that in water and dirt. So something as simple as that is already catching a trend, and it's being well used.
That's good. Okay, any further questions on the report? What about timelines in terms of once we pass this, timelines of getting the applications out, getting that back to council? What are we kind of looking at?
Once approved, I know Mary is off this week. Unfortunately, I'm off next week, so we're going to have to take a couple of weeks at this. But I know there is probably, I can think of at least a dozen people that are chomping at the bit for this.
So we shouldn't have any trouble finding committee members.
No shortage of interested people.
Okay, and just for members of council, if anybody's interested, just send me an email or let me know in person if you're interested in being on this seniors advisory committee. Okay, I need a motion then. Okay, moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabern. The council approves the implementation of a Petawawa Seniors Advisory Committee and the attached draft terms of reference and application as part of the transfer of the Seniors Active Living Center Solar Threads to town. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Colin. Next, we have Acting Chief Crew and the monthly fire report for June 2024.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, members of council. June report, recommendation that council accepts the monthly report for June as information. We started the month off with 16 incidents. We had a tree fire just behind the municipal building, the catwalk, on June the 3rd. Water tower, we had a fire up there where a tree was struck by lightning. And we put our bush truck to great use. We got it into some pretty tough terrain, and we were able to suppress the fire with our new bush truck. For fire alarms, we had one on June 4th. It was a faulty alarm. Same on Dustin Drive on the 8th of June, as well as the 10th. We got a little Boulevard again. On Oak Avenue, we had a activation alarm by a resident. We had one on John Street on the 13th, and we had another faulty alarm on June 24th. We had a vehicle fire on Petawawa Boulevard on June 7th, and a motor vehicle collision on Broom Road on June 9th, and we had another one on June 10th where a transport hit a traffic light pole. We had a gasoline spill on Laurentian Drive on June 10th at the terrace. We had an oven on fire on June 10th. We had 2 smoke alarms, one due to cooking and one undetermined. And we had a water rescue where our boat was called for on Island View Drive, but we got stood down by police on June 26th. Our fire prevention completed 16 inspections for the month, conducted 4 meetings. We had fire alarm on a fire drill on June 5th with one of our vulnerable occupancies. Public relations, we had a number of fun fairs with our local schools and for the first time, our crews went in and sprayed some of the students with a water display to keep them cool during the heat waves. And then minor administration for the fire prevention chief fire inspector. Residential smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms, we had 28 residents that were inspected. That brings us up to 134 for the year. And our new total for recreational fire permits is at 932. For training, the crews completed a simulated fire attack using the attack pumper and drafting from static water source. For specialized training, we completed our certification training. Last week, our crews, we had 7 go through to complete the firefighter level 2 and hazmat ops. They didn't have any problems, so we'll have some certified firefighters coming in a little time whenever we get their certifications. June 11th, 25th, our crews conducted swiftwater rescue training. Where the members demonstrated their annual research. For maintenance, we had some vehicles that were repaired or deck done. We had some minor installations or new air dryer for our air brake, and a door handle was adjusted. For the buildings, we have our ice machine is now installed, station 1. The generator was inspected for maintenance, and then minor SCBA replacements and a chainsaw added. For the chief's comments, I attended the senior management meeting on June 4th, June 5th, attended the Renfrew County Fire Chiefs Association in Pembroke. On the 6th was a pre-construction commencement meeting. On the 10th, attended the council meeting. The 12th, myself with the acting deputy chief, we met with Frontline Communications to discuss the department radio status. On the 13th, we attended the capital sector meeting for emergency management of Ontario. On the 17th, conducted the fire officers meeting. On the 19th, attended the senior management meeting. The 24th, conducted a mandatory meeting for department wide, and we had a labor management meeting on the 25th. On the 26th, myself, acting deputy, and the director of legislative services, we met with the emergency management field officer Jeff Warren to discuss emergency preparedness and look at our program. And that is my report, Jim.
Thanks, Greg. Questions on the report? Councillor Carney and Councillor Coutu.
Thank you for your service. Thanks for the report, Craig. Just a quick question on the vehicle fire. There was 11 personnel called out for a motorcycle battery. It just seems like a lot of personnel for a pretty small battery. Is that just the way it goes when the call goes out? And if there's, let's say 11 people really needed, or there's no way to determine that at the time?
Unfortunately, it was an all call, so it's during the hours that we don't have any coverage with standby crews, so it's the all call during the day.
So it could have been 3, could have been 11. That's the way it happened to go that day. It was 11.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Coutu.
Thank you, Mr. Service. One comment and question first. As for the visits to the schools, I must have heard about it from every kid in Petawawa, so you made a real impact. That was a real positive community moment, so well done. Question, I noticed the haunting on Falkirk. You met with them to discuss their attraction and concerns, etc. I love the haunting on Falkirk, so I'm just wondering what sort of parameters they have and if they're planning on expanding.
So we met with them just to make sure that we're both on the same page and that the safety for the residents and the patrons that are going through there. We want to get ahead of the curve so when it comes to the fall that we're not rushing with them. And we're working with them on their setup as we speak. So.
Deputy Mayor Sandberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Craig. Craig, it's not on the report, and I'm just wondering where the status is on the fire master plan. If you could give us an update, would that be okay?
For sure. So the community risk assessment, we have it. It's completed. I'm meeting with the consultants probably next week and to tie up some loose ends with that. The master fire plan, we're looking into September. They're still working on it, but they almost have the finished product. So they're looking at bringing it to council by September.
Other questions, Councillor Driscoll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the one question I have is one-on-one meeting with Frontline Communications, the radio department status. Is that our new cardinal we're trying to get, or is that with the base station for the centralized radio system they're looking at?
So the company we brought in to see what how our radio system is set up, and they did a review of our towers and the truck radios, see what's compatible so that we're not buying the wrong portable radios. That's why we brought them in. We did find some issues with our radio setup at the water tower, which we're going to correct. It's going to be our next steps. But we wanted to make sure before we bought the portable radios that system is compatible with our system, so we don't waste money on them.
Further questions or comments? And just a quick question, you mentioned that you're training up some new recruits and that they should be certified soon. How many new firefighters are we bringing on?
So we just hired 2 new firefighters that are certified. The 7 that went through, there's 10 are going through for certification that have already been hired from previous years. And we're going to be ahead of the certification because the certification has to come in effect in 2026 of July 1st. I had the opportunity to talk with the advisor, fire marshal advisor from our area, Shannon Armitage, and she was really impressed with how far we are ahead of the game with the certification process. So the next part of this we have to get our firefighters certified with technical rescue, which we have till 2028. So we're way ahead right now, and that's a good thing for us.
So with the 2 new hires, does that bring us up to the 37 that we need?
Currently, no, it won't. We're conducting a lieutenant competition where we have to hire 1 lieutenant. Then we'll have all our officers in line, and then we'll hire another 2 firefighters to bring our complement up to what we require per shift. So we have those firefighters. We've already done the interviews with them. We're going through the medicals and physicals, and then whenever we get the lieutenant's position in place, then we'll be able to have a full complement.
That's good news. Any other questions? And I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Carmody, that the fire department monthly report for June be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have FD-03-2024, request to enter into aerial apparatus agreement with the city of Pembroke. Craig.
So the recommendation, the council approves entering into an aerial agreement with the city of Pembroke, and that bylaw be brought forward to the next meeting of council and entered into said agreement. So the town of Petawawa currently has an agreement with the garrison of Petawawa, adopted bylaw 404-07 for provisions of firefighting assistance, which includes an aerial apparatus. This apparatus is not always available to the town of Petawawa, and the department wishes to enter into a similar agreement with the city of Pembroke to provide the department efficiency and redundancy. As our municipality continues to grow and taller structures are being built, such as hotels and buildings, the town of Petawawa Fire Department wants to ensure provisions and effective fire suppression services for residents and visitors. By having an additional aerial apparatus agreement in place, we will ensure effective fire suppression services in the event one of the apparatus is not available. Further, that there could be an instance where both apparatuses may need to be called upon a fire in the future. So the financial implications, the annual administration fee for this agreement is $14,850, which will be prorated for 2024, which is approximately $7,400. This administration fee will be subject to annual CPI adjustments. The agreement also provides for service rate of $900 for the first 2 hours, and then $450 per hour, additional hour, for every hour the apparatus is on scene of an incident or emergency with municipality within the municipal boundaries of the town of Petawawa. The service rate is also subjected to annual CPI adjustments over the term of the agreement. So the fees to purchase an aerial apparatus to date ranges from $2 to $3 million, and they're out 44 months out for completion.
Okay, questions on the report? Councillor Roos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, thank you. Craig, thank you for bringing this forward. No, I think it's great that we can support this, work with the city and the Pembroke Fire Department. It's a great way to provide service to our residents here for any emergencies. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sabrin, and then Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Craig, for this. I think it's a very fair insurance policy to have. Thank you.
Councillor Kern.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for the report, Craig. Just wondering about our agreement that we had with the garrison with for the use of their aerial. Are we going to have now two agreements, or are we rescinding the one that we have with the garrison, or?
I think we have to keep both agreements at this point. If we do have a structure fire, there's a couple structures here where we would need aerial support from two aerial devices. So for example, some of the hotels, we would have to try to cover all quadrants in the event that it goes fully involved or whatnot. Until we look and see what the master fire plan recommends. Now, if we purchase an aerial down the road, then the agreements would be pulled and we would follow mutual aid, which is a reciprocating agreement. But it's probably best that we do have that redundancy with the agreement with Pembroke, so that if like right now if the garrison, their aerial is down, we can use Pembroke, and if Pembroke's area goes down, then we have the garrison.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Coutu?
I forgot to mention, I finally had my tour of the fire station. Jamie Knott, when we were driving around, had mentioned that sometimes two aerials are better than one, depending on the fire. So I think this seems like a good insurance policy for sure.
Just a question about the fees. Are these fees for the Pembroke agreement, are they similar to the one with the garrison? In terms of the hourly rate and the administration fee?
No, they're not. They're not similar. We have the memorandum of understanding with the garrison, so it's a different agreement.
How do these administration fees and hourly rates compare to, let's say, other municipalities and what they're doing?
So when I was working with Chief Sell, they have agreements with Laurentian Valley, so it was kind of molded to that. Their agreements is where the cost came up.
Just one last question. It says $900 for the first 2 hours, so that's $450 per hour. And then it says an additional $450 per hour. Or is it $900 per hour for the first 2 hours?
I believe it's 900 for the first 2 hours and 450 for the additional hours.
Okay. So $450 for every hour. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with everybody. It's a good input. Councillor Carney.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Was the administrative fee budgeted for this year?
No, it was not.
So we're able to squeeze this 74.25 into the budget somewhere.
That's correct. I do have the money in the budget for that.
And we're tying ourselves to another 15 grand in the budget next year. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I have to agree with everybody. I think it's important, especially in terms of the safety of our residents. And we do have quite a few more buildings that are taller. And as we heard from the planners earlier today, perhaps some more 4-story apartments under construction and soon to be under construction. So as our portfolio of large buildings grow, then I think it's important we have 2 ladder trucks available to us. Okay, if we're comfortable with the recommendation, I need a motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, seconded by Councillor Roos, that council approves entering into an aerial apparatus agreement with the city of Pembroke, and that a bylaw be brought forward to the next meeting of council to enter into said agreement. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Public Works Monthly Report, June 2024. Chris, a lot going on in the Public Works Department.
Always. Hey, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We'll get right into the report. All right, starting with the Public Works Office expansion. The footings have been poured, and this week the ICF foundation blocks are in place and looking to pour the ICF foundation this week. So Public Works construction is going along nicely. Comfort Station, today we had Public Works staff mobilized over to the Comfort Station. The fence was removed, the security system is in place, and for the remainder of this week, Public Works staff will be working on all the site restoration that needs to be done to complete that project. But there are still some items that may take a little longer, like the paving of walkways. But the intention for this week for the Public Works staff is to have the washrooms accessible, the front entrance accessible, even if they are in a granular state. It's so that we can at least open the facility, and then if we need to, we'll do further work during the daytime. But that's the intention this week, is to really get moving on being able to open that facility. So fencing's down today, so that's step one. So by the end of the week, it should be looking pretty good. As far as Wolf Avenue and Portage Road, both those construction projects are going very well. Portage Road is a little bit ahead of schedule, and Wolf Avenue continues to be ahead of schedule. My understanding is that they're paving this week, Wolf Avenue, so it's moving along. I think their hope was to be done this week, but I think it'll be more at the end of the month, which is still fairly ahead of the schedule. It was late August or September at the start, so moving along really well. Murphy Road is also moving along well. Spoke to Noel Hoffman last week, and he said that they're 2 to 3 days ahead of schedule. So that job also is going along nicely. As far as fleet procurement, we are awaiting the delivery of our new case loader later this summer. And we have the town hall electric vehicle purchase. The tender closed July 9th, and there is a report tonight regarding that. Net zero project is moving along. There has been progress, which is nice to see. So nothing too concerning there as of right now. And grid tank number 2, the town and JP2G Consultants Inc. met on July 8th, and JP2G has been instructed to retender with a reduced scope of work to properly align with the budget of $350,000 that was in the 2024 budget. So we're going to give it another try. Some new ideas on the scope and how we're going to procure that, and I hope it comes back with a better result, more in line with the rest of the tenders this year. And then as far as the department update, in-house roadworks are really going well. Teddy and Peter and all the staff are doing a bang up job. Industrial Avenue today got the second lift put on it. Way ahead of schedule on that job. I didn't foresee that, so really happy with that. Black Bay Road is essentially complete. The multi-use pathway, we had one drainage issue to deal with at Euler, I believe. But that's been dealt with, so that paving is supposed to be completed tomorrow. So other than a little bit of restoration work on people's property and then the line painting, we're essentially complete that project as well. Everything to date on our in-house works is on budget or under budget. Really happy to report that as well. We've also completed the environment climate change lay-by out on Rance Road. That project is complete, so we'll be recouping money from the government soon for that project, but nice to have that as well. Another busy month in June, 146 locates. Everything's going well there. And as far as water and sanitary, nothing to really report there. We did have another one of those HAA exceedance. I believe I've spoken to council about that before. It's an issue that other municipalities are dealing with as well, and it's just something that the plant process needs to be altered or I don't want to say corrected, but I guess all the water plants designed or built in the era similar to ours, they're dealing with these HAAs. Essentially, they're normal decomposition of organic matter in the rivers, and then our plant has a tough time treating that, getting it out. But we're working with Aqua staff and the Aqua engineering resources through Aqua to come up with a plan how best to deal with it. But right now, just keeping in the loop on it, it's not something to be too alarmed about at this time. And that's it for the monthly report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chris. Questions on the report? Councillor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question and a comment. First one, I'd like to say the in-house projects seem to fly by. It's, I drive by and they're ripping it up, and the next thing you know, it's already, new asphalt's already down. So kudos to the staff on that. Question with the muff on the wrench, and I had a couple of residents ask me why we attached it to the wrenching and not, you know, between like Ravenwood and that the muff is off, the grass in between. So why now are we attaching it to the road instead of having that grass area?
Right. So we looked at each segment that we did. Some segments had existing ditches and culverts where we were able to use those roadside ditches and put the multi-use pathway further in towards the property. But the sections where you see the multi-use pathway against the road or adjacent to the roadway, that was done because we don't have ditches. So the best way to correct those drainage issues was attaching the multi-use pathway to the road, letting the water drain towards the property line, and then putting dry wells in specific locations so that we're not going to get what we had before, which was a lot of areas along that existing sidewalk that were flooded in the summer and impassable in the winter and dangerous for slippery conditions. When we went into this project, I believe it was 3 years ago, our intention was to improve drainage. But I can honestly say, I think we've done a fantastic job at correcting most of the issues along the wrench, and they were extensive. There were a lot of drainage issues there when I started here in 2019, 2020. So I think we're on the right track with what we've done. We did have some consultation and some meetings with some of the residents along that section, as we have with every section we've done. And again, staff, I think, have done a really good job of communicating what the goal is, which is to have a multi-use pathway that's accessible, usable, but also to improve the drainage issues for those residents along the multi-use pathway.
So, thanks.
I guess we avoided having to dig a ditch and put a culvert in every driveway that we crossed over.
That's correct.
Yeah. Does it also help us in the winter in terms of snow removal? Well,
It does, yes. The sections where you see the granular between the multi-use pathway and the road typically get a lot of gravel wash during rain events where we have to sweep more often, and also in the winter when the plows go by, they're plowing the gravel onto the multi-use pathway. So from a maintenance standpoint for the plows, when it's attached to the road, it does make it more efficient. We also added a meter buffer so that the multi-use pathway that's attached to the road is actually 4 meters wide. And we've allowed that 1 meter there as a buffer to keep people away from traffic, and also to have some more space for snow storage as well.
I think it was Councillor Fairman and then Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mayor Service. So yes, kudos to you and the department. So everything looks like it's on the rails, and thanks for keeping a tight grip on the purse strings. Nice to have stuff coming in on budget and ahead of schedule. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor Sadler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Chris. Chris, having been a former resident of the Ravenwood, Sully Street area and a big walker of Laurentian, thank you for the work on addressing those drainage issues and with the reality of a fast road. So people should be able to walk on a sidewalk, and it wasn't just a little bit of water, it was 4 or 6 inches of water for 2-3 months kind of thing. So I think everybody in that area will be really pleased. Thanks so much.
Welcome. Further questions or comments on the report? Just a question about Portage and the ongoing construction there. Was the plan, and I can't remember, was the plan to continue that muff that's on the east side all the way to Portage Landing subdivision?
Yes, that's correct, to Dustin Drive. And then past Dustin Drive, when we look at the third phase of Portage for 2025, the intention is then to have a road that would look similar to Black Bay Road, which is an 8.5 meter cross section, so a meter paved shoulder on each side for walkers and cyclists. But the multi-use pathway will terminate at the subdivision, Portage Landing, sorry. Yeah, it'll terminate there at Dustin Drive.
Thanks. And I noticed in your report, you had a display of a street sweeper. Does that mean we're looking at purchasing one or?
Nothing pending. I have had staff have taken in a few demos of street sweepers. Currently, we have a contractor that does a really good job for us at a reasonable rate, but that person has indicated that he plans on getting out of the business in the near future. So I think it's prudent to keep our options open. We are looking at other options of how we could continue to contract it out, but it's good to also look at what's out there as far as fleet resources to if we were to bring it in-house, keep that option open.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and this could be one of our first forays into sharing resources with neighboring municipalities in the county, because it is sort of a specialized vehicle, one that wouldn't get used all the time. But if we kind of shared resources with our neighbors and the county and purchased one of those and then made use of it together, as long as we get to store it.
That's correct.
And put our deck on.
Yes, they are an expensive vehicle. So if you can find other uses for it, like for example, the sweeper that was purchased for the city of Pembroke, when I was employed there, we used it for daylighting. So for our in-house road projects, we would do our own vacuum excavation to find underground utilities. So there are other uses for a street sweeper, and again, as the mayor said, it's good if you can find some other municipalities close to you that may want to share in and rent it from our municipality as another means of cost recovery. So yeah, we'll keep all those options open.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All right, then I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Councillor Coutu, that the Public Works monthly report for June be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, we have PW-21-2024, award of tender PW-10-2024, one fully electric crossover vehicle. Chris?
All right, we'll start with background. Okay, tender PW-10-2024 was prepared and advertised in a local paper and on our website. 6 firms requested tender packages, and 1 firm submitted a complete tender package on the closing date of July 9th at 10 a.m. The price that was tendered is shown in your report. And just as a note, on October 25th, 2021, staff report PW-2821 was brought before council, and council of the day committed to a zero emission fleet of half-ton pickups by 2035. The purchase of an electric crossover vehicle for use by staff at Town Hall is the first step in fulfilling this commitment and will serve as a foundation for future EV purchases. The financial implication: the approved 2024 budget for the purchase of an electric vehicle was $60,000. It should also be noted that this purchase is eligible for a $5,000 rebate under the federal incentives for zero emission vehicles program. So that price will come off the total tender price, including HST, which was $67,729.94. So there will be $5,000 coming off that price. Additionally, there was $12,000 budgeted for the installation of a level 2 charger at Town Hall. Recent estimate for this installation is in the range of $3,000. And the reason why it's substantially lower is we're looking at a single-use charging port for this vehicle. We couldn't find the grant opportunities just weren't available at this time to get a public charge station for a good price. So it was more prudent to go with a single-use level 2 charger for this specific vehicle. And the recommendation: staff are recommending that council approves the award of tender PW-10-2024, one fully electric crossover vehicle to Urban Ford in the amount of $59,938 plus HST.
Questions on the report? So everybody's happy with our first purchase of our first ever EV vehicle. That's pretty exciting. It's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say disappointing, but the fact that we only received one tender package. But in conversations with Chris, and I know I recently purchased a hybrid vehicle, but it's not easy to get them when you want them. So perhaps some of the companies realized that they couldn't supply them at this point. Just wondering if there's any reasoning.
Yeah, I was surprised as well. There were 6 that picked up the tender package, and there was also none of the people that picked up the tender package called for an addendum or questioned the tender in any way. You know, maybe their vehicle didn't quite fit the specifications, so an addendum could have addressed that. There were no addendum questions asked. I did do some research. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive was certainly a competitor to the Ford product, but we didn't get a bid. There were lots of others. There was a Subaru product, a Volvo, a couple of Teslas, and a Volkswagen. But again, we don't have any local dealer network for those vehicles. So, and then the other one was the new Chev Blazer. But I believe the reasoning there is it's a very, very new model that's just coming off the assembly line. So it's typically would go to larger urban centers with the first run of those vehicles, and it takes a little longer for them to get to the smaller dealerships. So I think it's really just a matter of the demand is there and the supply isn't. And that's probably why you're also seeing the prices of EVs are still staying higher than we would like. But certainly I've done a lot of legwork on these. I believe the vehicle comes with a very good warranty. Battery warranty is 8 years, 160,000 kilometers. So quite confident in the warranty of the battery. The range of this vehicle is in the neighborhood of 370 to 380 kilometers per charge. So as far as the usage of this vehicle for the staff at Town Hall and its intended purpose for our building department, as well as other people working here that need to use the vehicle for supply runs or meetings or site visits, for the uses that it's intended and for overnight charging, I think it's a very good fit. As well as you can't beat the ultra low overnight electricity rates that I looked into because I thought it was wrong. Like I did the math. I'm like, okay, something must be wrong, because if you go by the electrical rates, it costs about $2.20 to charge the car overnight, which I think is incredible. It takes 9 hours to charge it from basically a empty battery to 80% capacity, which is the way you're supposed to charge them. So a level 2 charger here at Town Hall, if it's charging overnight in 9 hours, there's no reason why every day that vehicle won't be fully charged. And then as far as cost savings, I did do quite a bit of legwork on that as well. Just so you can kind of see where we're getting at. If you look at just admin, building department, economic development and planning, 2023 and up to this point in 2024, there's been $7,800 in mileage claims. Yeah, 7,800. So now some of that would be for conferences where, you know, it may still be more feasible for the person to use their own personal car and not, maybe the car can't go out of town for an extended period of time. But you know, even if you looked at saving 60% of that, it would still be a $5,000 a year savings in mileage charges, not to mention the fuel savings. It's pretty easy math. If you have a vehicle, a comparative vehicle to the one we're looking at here, if that vehicle is averaging 10 liters per 100 kilometers, you can assume that in an annual year, you use a vehicle 16,000 kilometers, that's 1,600 liters of gas. So this vehicle wouldn't be using any. Maintenance is significantly less. Essentially, you go in, they check your fluids and rotate your tires. That's the maintenance. That's okay. So I understand and I feel it as well. I'm a fleet guy, and this is a big change. It's, you know, but I also can honestly say that I have spent countless hours on YouTube researching EVs, and the technology is getting better and better every year. GM had just came out with their new pickup, and I believe it has about 700 kilometers of range. So the technology is moving very, very quickly. So I'm very confident that this purchase, I think it will recoup the extra money to purchase the EV. I think we will be able to recoup that money. I think there will be additional savings, and also from a town of Petawawa standpoint, I think it's we will be. I think Deep River has a Tesla, but other than Deep River, I believe we will be the first municipality in the county of Renfrew with a fully electric car. So I think it's good for Petawawa.
Gail has a question. Or
Yes.
comment.
Yes, thanks, your worship. On top of all that, and that's well done, Chris, is the risk management portion of this, and not having our employees use their own vehicles to run errands and do the business of the corporation. Much rather have them in a town vehicle or a corporate vehicle. Just reduces our liability and also protects our staff as well. Good point.
Great work by everybody, I must say, and I'm glad to hear that you're confident that we're getting a good vehicle, even though there was only one tender. So it's exciting to hear, and I guess the only concern I have is that there may be some infighting within the town hall. Who gets to drive the electric vehicle, and what I have to do to take it for a test drive.
If it's successful, we may have to add another vehicle down the road.
Okay, so if everybody's comfortable, I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Ruth, seconded by Councillor Coutu. The council approves the award of tender PW-10-2024, one fully electric crossover vehicle to Urban Ford in the amount of $59,938 plus HST. And since the town of Petawawa is eligible for the federal incentives for zero emission vehicles, IZEV program, Urban Ford will deduct this amount from the total tender amount of $67,729.94, inclusive of HST. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And when do we think we'll take delivery? When will be the maiden voyage?
Has to be determined, but I will let you know as soon as possible.
Okay,
I'm hoping late summer.
right on. Thanks, Chris. Okay, next we have the Economic Development Report for June 2024. Christine.
Evening, our service and members of council. It's rotating seat today. The June report before you, just highlight some of the quick wins, noting that we did participate in a grand opening for Law and Orders on June the 3rd, and for Airborne Petawawa on June the 14th. July the 13th, just this Saturday, was World Skydive Day, excuse me, and Airborne Petawawa participated in that challenge and hosted 36 jumps. It was a busy month, lots of meetings happening with local businesses and interested parties, speaking with individuals both in the industrial park, in terms of accessing the community improvement plan and just in general business opportunities. Related to communications and marketing, we are conducting a branding exercise. The survey actually closed today with 250 some participants, providing commentary on that. Further discussions will be had as we compile those results. A commemorative program for the Comfort Station Boardwalk is in development. And we did participate in some discussions about the website redevelopment RFP that has gone in. In terms of partner engagements, scored the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce bursary application, and as always started the reviews of the starter company plus participant business plans and budget documents. I've been privileged to have been asked many times to participate in this process, and it's one of the joys of this particular occupation that I get to do that. And then in terms of projects, programs, and events, we are well underway in our container market, and we were happy to collaborate with the local immigration partnership group to host the newcomer market and the cricket match on June the 22nd, which did see over 250 people at the market throughout the daytime and as part of the cricket activity. We do have a youth market that is open for participant applicants on June 16th as part of the entrepreneurship camp program that's run out of the Civic Center. So it'll be our third year participating in that program as a collaborative. In terms of other activities, typical meetings and staff opportunities. I will take questions if there's questions, council.
Questions on the report? Councillor Carmen.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Thanks for your report, Christine. I see there's a very vibrant interest in the CIP program. How are we, do you anticipate that we're going to have to grow that program next year?
I think it's just timely right now for sure that applicants are looking. We have a number of applicants for new builds or new fit outs that have looked at the program or relocating to new spaces. So it's quite timely. It is my intention to review the program, so I do hope that it will grow and be sustainable and offer even further incentives in the coming years.
Thank you.
Councillor Driscoll.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, just one quick question. The boardwalk you're talking about, is there gonna be something similar to Pembroke where people can buy a plank? Is that the kind of Pembroke boardwalk we're talking about, or what are we looking at with that?
Yeah, something similar because the comfort station is a legacy project. So we thought it would be a fun opportunity to, there will be a section of it that is a boardwalk to replicate a train station. So the arrival platform of the train station. So it was discussed, it was thought that it would be a good fit for a commemorative boardwalk program. So we are working on that right now. Public Works is doing some of the civil works. We do have the plan to move forward with that build, and we're just waiting on launching that particular program.
Are there questions on the report? Just now that we're talking about the comfort station and a boardwalk, how are our plans coming with Petawawa sign, and how is that going to tie in with the comfort station?
We're working on the design for the in and out with JP2G. So the design has been made. Costing process is going forward. With regards to some other site works on the property, there's been a foray with a design company. So we are waiting for their response back in terms of potential site placements. The sign would be affected by that. And so we are, while we have the sign designed, the placement of the sign and how it connects to all of the infrastructure, it's cart and horse.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor Sabri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Christine. Christine, just a question with respect to the Welcome Center. Is anyways, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. Is there a date set yet for the the official grand opening of that? Okay. Thank you. I'll wait patiently. Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments on the report? Just a comment on the fact that we're getting a cost estimate pricing on the road works for the industrial park. I think that's great to see that that's getting moved forward. We know there's a big demand for our industrial land, and we don't have much. So it's great that this is moving forward. We can provide even more opportunities for commercial and industrial properties in the town of Petawawa. So that's good to see. Okay, if there's nothing further, I need a motion to approve the report. Moved by Councillor Driscoll, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabri. The council receives the Economic Development Monthly Report for June and be accepted as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Christine. Next, we have Legislative Services. Colin.
Thank you, Mayor Service. Through you and to Council, my monthly report for June is before you. We'll just briefly highlight a few of the two areas within the report. Under animal control, we had some nuisance animals, and there's a few written warnings issued for excessive dog barking on Violet Street. And there was also a written warning for the dog off leash at Fish Hatchery Park. Under stray and loose animals, we had 7 cats that were located in Dorn Road, Black Bay area, and our animal control officer returned them all to the OSPCA. Under bylaw enforcement, we had a good month, if you want to say that, a good month in terms of a very small number of parking infraction notices, which was really good to see. That means people are getting the idea when it comes to our infractions within the town. We also had 6 written warnings for parking on wrong way or blocking a fire hydrant or of that nature. So there were 6 warnings written there. Under watering, we had 30 property owners receive exemptions because they have newly sown grass or a portion of their lawn was newly laid down solid. We had 26 written warnings issued to residents who watered on the wrong day or time, and the streets were listed in my report. Just wanted to bring your attention to a noise complaint. We had a written warning issued to a resident on Dorn for a complaint of loud music. And then under our property standards, we had 2 written warnings issued to a resident on Sunset Crescent who had an unkept yard. Our bylaw officers were following up with that. And we had 1 provincial offense notice issued for displaying a sign without a permit. And then I'll just take you to the Commissioner Roles training Commissioner Roles section. And we had 31 requests that we provided for the month of June. And there was a summary in my report of the types of documents that were commissioned. And under marriage licenses, we had 5 licenses issued in June, and the revenue is received in $500 for the month. And that is it for my report. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions on the report? I just have one question. I've been here almost 10 years. I've never known or seen that we have to confirm that somebody is alive, and we do that.
Yes,
What is that?
it's just a document to prove that the person existed and we sign it. Yeah.
All right. That's my one thing I learned today. Any other questions or comments? And I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Carmody, seconded by Councillor Kuzoo. The council receives the Legislative Services Monthly Report for June as information. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Thanks, Colin. Under general matters, we have a request for resolution of support, calling for investment in municipal infrastructure for Eastern Ontario's small and rural communities. So if you had a chance to read through the report, it was quite lengthy. But it comes from the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. And you'll notice that the opening letter was from Peter Emo, who was the chair of the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, also the warden of the county. But in it, it's basically asking for our support here in Petawawa to advance what the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus is recommending. They did have 5 recommendations listed there. Of the 5, I think the most impactful one was the one dealing with OSIP, which is our funding we receive from the province of Ontario for infrastructure. And what they're basically recommending is that the province take a harder look at how small municipalities, especially the rural ones, are struggling to maintain their infrastructure because their tax base isn't as large as the major urban centers. So what they're basically saying is the province needs to take a harder look and a closer look at our roads, our bridges, our wastewater treatment facilities, our water treatment facilities, and how are we going to maintain and expand those facilities with the small tax base that we have without the support from the province. And that they look at that and increase the funding proportionally to all the different municipalities. I thought there was one little box there that I thought was real eye opener, that for 1 kilometer of paved road in a rural environment, it's 10 houses that have to pay for that 1 kilometer of road. And in a city, it's 28 houses that contribute to that road. And for a bridge in a rural environment is 236 houses, whereas in a city, 709 houses are contributing. So you can see that the burden on a smaller municipality or a rural municipality taxpayer is a lot higher to maintain the infrastructure that we have, especially Renfrew County, one of the biggest counties in Ontario. All of the roads and bridges and culverts we have, it's hard for us to maintain that on the backs of our local taxpayers. So I think it's a good idea, and a lot of work went into this, a lot of research. It was a great document. Whether or not the government listens to it, who knows? But I think it's important for us to support it and move it on up the chain with as much support as we and the other municipalities can provide. Hopefully the province listens and provides us with a little more OSIP funding so that we can take care of all of our infrastructure needs in our smaller municipalities. With that, is there any comments or questions? Okay, if you're comfortable, then I need a motion. Moved by Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Driscoll. The council supports the draft resolution as presented and directs staff to forward the completed Town of Petawawa resolution to the applicable parties. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. Next, I need a motion to go into close. Moved by Councillor Coutu, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sabrin, that the meeting be closed pursuant to section 239, paragraph 2, paragraph C of the Municipal Act 2001, S.O.2001, C.25, to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And just as a reminder, Councillor Driscoll has indicated a pecuniary interest and will excuse himself from the vote.